Andre, tell me about you got a unique path, man, to becoming an NFL agent, worked in sales at a radio station, then
Yeah.
you were a branch manager at a bank, a grad assistant football coach at Temple, which is you and I both are alma mater. I went there to grad school. Then you
Sure.
were in scouting for the Chicago Bears, and here you are, an athlete's first, doing amazing things as an NFL agent. Explain the road to get to this point and all those steps along the way, how they prepared you.
It was an obstacle for sure, man. Definitely an obstacle course of many trials and tribulations. But, I have a mantra that I live by, and it's literally one day at a time, right? So I literally just took my entire, my path, my career, just took it one day at a time and just focused and controlled what exactly that I could focus and control, um, all that. So, I mean, it was a grind. Obviously, it wasn't easy, you know, sleepless nights, 17, 18 hours in the office as a GA, obviously going to the NFL, and working in the front office, having those long, tiring days and not seeing your family. It was definitely a journey of tremendous grind, but it was more than worth it. And as you alluded to, me starting out, in the sales business for 90, it was 94.1 at the time, WIP, here in Philadelphia. And, that right there was a transition out of college that I made. And it really helped groom me for, the business that I'm in now, because I'm ultimately dealing with people, building relationships, sustaining relationships, nurturing, fertilizing relationships on a daily basis. And, me, I'm of the mindset that you don't just show up. These things are built over time. You have to do it authentically, and genuinely. So that's that's kind of how I got here, man. And that's been my mantra from day one, and I'll continuously live by that. I'm blessed and highly favored for sure, man.
I love that. When did you realize during this journey that you wanted to pursue a career as an agent? Because like, you had that scouting experience with the Chicago Bears and working in a front office. It could be very rewarding, but at the same time, a lot of hours, a lot of
Yeah.
time away from home, all that stuff. So when did you realize, you know what, I want to pursue being an agent?
Yeah. So when I got fired from the Chicago Bears, the NFL obviously stands for not for long, and that's not just for players, that's for coaches, front office executives, everyone. So when we got let go from there, my family and I, I had a couple of opportunities to actually go back. And, the boss lady was like, yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. We just bought a house and we just got settled, back on the East Coast. So I did media for a while, right? I was with Anthony Gargano and Brian Baldinger and those guys for a while doing that. And then I one day it just settled on me. I had an epiphany and I was like, listen, I grew up in sports, boxing, basketball, football my entire life. I've always been around those individuals. A lot of my best friends made it to become professional football players, the Jamil McClains of the world, the Jari Evans of the world, people like that, and guys in boxing like the Danny Gar. Like I grew up around these guys, so I've always been around and I've always been there to help and be a resource and a tool for those guys, whether it be for their camps and things of that nature. So I said, you know what, man, I feel like I have a lot to offer in that segmentation of the business. I've been blessed to be at every single level of the business to this point in my career. Why not take that leap of faith? Why not just try it out? I've done everything else. I might as well try it because I believe I really could be, a real resource, a real asset, to a lot of these young men because, I truly believe in based on historical data and what we continuously see from these guys and their futures, a lot of them, need those individuals to, help walk them down this road, right through this journey, because this is a very, very, tough, tough business, and it's a tough life being a professional athlete. It's not easy. Everything's not going to be, you know, perfect sunny days, right? You're going to have those rainy days. You're going to have those painful days when things don't go well. So, who's going to be with you? Who's going to help educate you? Who's going to truly be fully invested in your future? Not just your success contractually, but individually, emotionally, mentally, things of that nature. So, I just felt like me personally, I had a lot to offer. So, I wanted to try it out. If I make it, great, which I knew I was going to make it, honestly. But if I didn't, at least I tried it. The worst shot is the shot that you don't take, right? And I've always been a person to take every single shot. Whatever I want to do, I'm going to do. It's just that simple.
Can't score if you don't shoot, right? I think Wayne Gretzky said that one time.
He did.
Andre, there's a negative connotation to agents sometimes, and I think people maybe think Jerry Maguire. You go back to that movie, Show Me the Money, like, oh man, it's been like 20 years or whatever it's been.
He wore that word.
How do you feel about that perception, that the negative connotation, and how do you set yourself apart?
That's a tremendous question right there, because that was actually the reason why I never delved into the representation business from the beginning, because of that dark cloud that was attached to it. And I alluded to this in one of my other, conversations, that, growing up and, being hands-on with these athletes, people kind of, looked at me as a street agent, as they say, right? And I worked with coaches that would attribute those individuals as street agents. And not for nothing, a lot of those individuals are really good people. And those athletes need those people, because where we're from, I come from extreme circumstances, as you know. We don't have parents. I didn't have a mom or dad to hold my hand and walk me through, right? And a lot of these kids don't. Excuse me, not kids. A lot of these young men don't. So, I didn't want to be an agent initially because of that. And I think it's a very unfair stigma that's attached to being an agent, because if you're doing it from the right place in your heart, in the right place spiritually and mentally, you're going to really help these guys become who they want to become. You're going to help them through this tough journey that is almost seemingly never ending, right? Because someone's always grabbing at you. Someone always wants something. Your phone's always ringing. But what they don't tell them is that when your career is over, when the celebrity dwindles, when that phone stops ringing, no one cares. Who's going to be there for you then? Who's going to be taking your calls then? Who's going to help you walk down that path to the next portion of your life? Because when a lot of these young men retire, they're still babies. You're 32 to 35 years old, you're a baby. So
you mentioned those extreme circumstances that you grew up in. Now, I was born and raised in South Philly. You were on the other side of Philly, in North Philly, raised by your grandma. Didn't have a mom and dad at home. You had a tough path, so you could have gone down the wrong road. Who helped you along the way make those right decisions?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I would say I was blessed to have that skill set at a young age of being a great decision maker. That's what I would say from the offset. But when it comes to, having that person to kind of educate me and give me information that I didn't have or that I couldn't retrieve on my own, my high school coach, Ron Cohn, hands down. He was that resource, that asset for me that really helped educate me, right? And helped me see the other side of the world that I didn't see. Coming from where I come from, all I saw was, violence, crime, drugs, whether it's from, with all due respect, my family, friends, circle of influence, to the individuals in my neighborhood. That's all I knew. That's all I saw. So as you said, I mean, I could have easily went that way, but, I made a conscious decision at a young age that I didn't want to go down that road. I didn't want to be in the projects. I didn't want to be in the hood for the rest of my life. So it was up to me and only me to truly figure out what it was that I wanted to do, what my genius level talent was, and actually master it and go after it with full all out intensity.
You don't come from a background of like a law degree, working in your way up that way. I mean, you actually played football.
Yeah.
And you walked on at Temple after playing at Bloomsburg. So how much do you think that helps you with players, prospective clients, the fact that you played the game? Does that give you a little bit of more credibility with them?
Yeah, in some instances, yes, but I would say what gives me the most credibility is that I actually worked in the front office. I've been in those boardrooms, right? I understand that language. I've been around those conversations. I've been a part of those conversations. And the fact that I actually had the opportunity of coaching for a couple of years at our alma mater at Temple as a graduate assistant. Like that right there, it was just, it was a trampoline for my career. It literally was, because, when you have a chance to acquire that much information and build your resume that way, that's pretty incomparable, to some individuals, to some families, and to some of these young men. So they look at it and they say, man, he did that. I could do that. I need to be affiliated with someone that's, taking that path. Everyone can't be a player. That's the reality of it, right? Like we're all not blessed, to be, these elite level athletes, myself included. So, just figuring out a way to um, maximize maximize your talent level and your skill set, right? And really, transition it into your level of success, whatever that may be.
As a young guy in the business, as
Mhm.
an agent, how much, I mean, you got to be on that road, recruiting, talking to guys, the pro days, all the combine this year, obviously, because of COVID, everything is different. How tough is that road, man? Like, how difficult are those challenges? And you've done well. We'll talk about some of the guys that you're going to represent, two potential top 10 picks and other first rounders. But to get here, to get to that point, how tough was that?
It was it was very tough. I can't yeah, I can't really sit here and act as if it wasn't. It was very tough because my journey it wasn't a traditional one. As you said, I mean, I didn't have the red carpet laid out for me. I had to really go out there and, earn everything from the muscle, as we say, right? From ground zero. So it was very tough. I can't sit here and, pretend that it wasn't. But at the end of the day, I embraced it. And that's what makes me, that's what really distinguishes me, I believe, from a lot of people, because I knew it was going to be like that. My entire life was like that. I never had anything easy. Nothing was ever handed or given to me on a silver platter. That's just not what I come from, right? So everything I wanted, I knew at a young age that I had to go out there and take. So this was going to be no different. I had to really set my mind to it. And once I established that this is what I want to do, and that this was my genius level talent of building and sustaining meaningful relationships with people, I just went after it. And that's really what it is. So yeah, it was tough. But again, being able to, you know, differentiate exactly what's it gonna take to really accomplish your goals and be able to go out there and execute at the highest level, that's where I got my happiness from, right? Because we're all gonna work at something. You know,
Mhm.
that's just the reality of it, right? So you can either give it your all doing something you don't want to do, or you can go out there and sacrifice everything for something that you really, really want. So that's what I chose to do.
You and I have talked about different things along the road in regards to race relations and
Sure.
how some things have unfolded in the world and how the NFL has handled it and being a black agent, which is obviously underrepresented, right, in the NFL.
100%.
Do you anticipate in your role trying to go out there and eventually, as you settle in and you get more established and you grow into the business of guys looking at you as a role model and saying, hey, maybe I can't play the sport. Maybe I don't have that talent, those blessings,
Yeah.
those gifts, those abilities, but I can be involved in sports this way, like Andre is.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously my ultimate goal, because for me growing up in North Philadelphia, I didn't have that. I didn't see that. I didn't think there were black agents, right? That's part of the reason. It's like 50% of the reason outside of the other 50% that I named earlier that I didn't want to become an agent. I didn't think it was for me. So, for me to be in this position right now, I owe that to the next generation. First and foremost to my children, right? Then secondly to the younger generation that's coming up behind me. So that's why I always take the initiative to go out there and share information, with the younger kids and, whether it be male, female, because at the end of the day, if this is what you want to do, you can do it. You just got to really set your mind to it and go out there. And again, that key word is execute, right? So it's very important for me to to do it at a level that other people can look at and say, you know what, that guy right there, he made it happen, and he did it the right way, right? I can do it. I can do it as very much possible. So it's very important for me, and I'm going to continue to do what I've been doing. And I don't make a lot of noise doing it, but it's getting done for sure behind closed doors.
What do you enjoy the most about working for Athletes First?
Just the family environment. I come from a place, my background where I came from prior. Being at Athletes First, it the dynamic is completely it's just completely family oriented, right? We have a mantra that we work and live by over there. It's called family ties. When you see me post, you'll see me always put that as a hashtag because we really live that, and more importantly than me saying it, our little brothers, they say it for us too. I mean, because it's directly impacting and affecting them, so the family dynamic that we have there amongst, our players, all being together, hanging out, training together, checking on each other, sharing information, right? Because we're in a business where everyone's competing, right? And everyone wants to be the best as they should. But the difference is there comes a time where, you want your circle of influence if you're smart. And so much love, respect, and adoration for David Mulligetta, the president, of team sports at Athletes First, because he set the standard prior to me, getting there. And that was the reason really why I chose to go to Athletes First, because I love the dynamic there, just all of our guys being together, even amongst the agents, like sharing information, working together. Hey, if I can't get this young man, let's work it together, right? Or maybe I'll have some information about the young man and his family. I'll disseminate that information to you and things of that nature. It's just a different it's just a different kind of energy over there. So that's what I like the best, just being completely transparent.
How much do you guys love this week when NFL free agency period kicks off? Obviously, this year is a little bit different. Salary cap it decreased because of lost revenue last year, but still, money's flying around. What is that free agency frenzy like? And when you guys can just sit down and negotiate a contract for a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, you depicted it perfectly. It's a frenzy, right? Like everyone's trying to go after the best players that fit their culture from a team perspective. And then from our perspective, it's making sure not just going after the big dollars, but making sure that our players are going to the right places, right? To the right team, the right individuals that are going to put them in a position to be successful, right? What their skill sets are, making sure it aligns with what the team is bringing to the table as well. So, the energy of free agency is certainly a different feel because I mean these guys have worked their behinds off, and not for nothing, as you know, a lot of guys unfortunately don't make it to that next contract, that second contract. So if you're blessed to be able to get to that second contract, it's very exciting. It could be a little nerve-wracking at times too, but when you have that relationship with your players and when your players believe in you and you have that family dynamic, they know that you're not going to do anything that's going to jeopardize their future, right? Their contractual value, to that sense. So, just having that continuity together, man, and having those guys believe in you makes the world of a difference because, at the end of the day, it is a business, right? And like anything else, there's ups and downs, and there can be detrimental situations that can happen. But again, if you have that relationship, keyword relationship with your players, those guys believe in you. Our guys just let us just go and just do what we do because they know if you owe us $10, you're definitely not giving us nine. It's just that simple, So, and that's the way we operate, and our players love us for that. And well, that's one of the reasons why they love us, and that's how we approach it. So,
We see a lot of teams restructuring contracts to get under the salary cap this time of year. Sometimes people don't understand that, and they go, well, "Why would a player be so willing to restructure a contract?" But correct me if I'm wrong. When you're restructuring a deal, that player is going to get more money up front, or maybe more guaranteed money. So a guy is not going to want to do that to accommodate a team unless it's beneficial for them. Correct?
absolutely, it's just like you working at your, not you per se, but an individual working at their job, and you're on an annual salary, and your boss comes to you and says, "You know what? I know you're on a 150 annual salary. Let me restructure your deal. I'll give you 50 up front, right? So we can make sure that on the back end, we'll have more money to allocate to other individuals." Are you going to say yay or nay? You know what I mean? You're going to take that 50K up front because tomorrow's not promised. Anything can happen. And it's the same thing as restructuring a deal in the NFL. If it makes sense for the player, you take advantage of that for sure. And yeah, you're doing the team a favor. But again, it's about relationships, right? You take care of them on the back end. When the time comes, they'll take care of you as well. And you have to have that dynamic and that relationship with teams as well. And as teams want it with you too, being the agent, for your players and future clients as well. So, it's a very interesting um, business, but it comes with a lot of different nuances and elements, but once you get acclimated to it, you'll understand it a whole lot more. And I know I just bloviated a little bit, but I'm really, really a nerd when it comes to this stuff because I mean, this is what I love to do. This is what I've invested my entire life into doing.
Andre, your first client, who was it, and that feeling when you secured that first player?
First one ever, doesn't matter
Yes.
which agency.
No.
First client ever was Robbie Anderson,
Okay.
Temple University,
Wow.
the old agency that I was with prior to where I am now. Having acquired him and helping him, improve and upgrade his current scenario, his current situation, representation wise, was probably the best feeling I've ever had because Robbie was a young man that, and I don't like talking about players that I don't represent anymore, but Robbie was a young man that I coached at Temple. So our
Hmm.
relationship was so pure, it was so genuine, it was so natural, because we went from, me making sure he's at class, while I'm doing class checks as a GA, to seeing him graduate, and then become this ultimate big play wide receiver in the National Football League and having an opportunity for him to say, you know what, I have this much trust, love, and respect for you, to allow you the opportunity and bless you with the opportunity to, represent my future. That was such a magnificent feeling. It was truly amazing, and I will always think and be truly grateful for all the guys that gave me an opportunity, whether I currently represent them or not. Because again, as you know, this is a tough business, right?
Hmm.
Incredibly difficult to sign these young men, but it's even more challenging to build relationships with them, right? You have so many good agents in this business, right? You have so many agents in general coming at you, pulling at you, tugging at you, calling you, doing whatever it takes. And, for you to win that kind of battle, like you can't take that lightly because it's not guaranteed.
Right. Yeah. Well, this year's upcoming draft, you've already secured, and I mentioned earlier, two very likely top 10 picks.
Mhm.
Kyle Pitts, tight end out of Florida, and Micah Parsons, linebacker out of Penn State. You also have several other guys. I know you're going to be hanging out in Syracuse. Andre Cisco's there. You got Jason Owa from Penn State, Mark Webb. Man, first talk to me a little bit, Andre, about Micah Parsons and Kyle Pitts. I don't know if there's another agent right now. I haven't done the math and looked at it who's got two potential top 10 clients. That's a huge deal. How exciting is that? And how good can these guys be?
Yeah, I haven't really had the chance to get too excited because there's still so much to do before all that transpires. And we always do our best to, stay level-headed. Doesn't matter how much success you acquire, it can always be taken away from you, and you know that, right? We've both been through challenging professional experiences, so I always just do my best to just stay level-headed and stay humble. But looking at it when you say it that way, looking at it is pretty exciting. But I'm more so excited for the young guys because they've sacrificed their lives for this. Knowing Kyle Pitts coming from Philadelphia, the experience that he went through, having coaches tell him that he wasn't going to be good enough and he wasn't going to make it, and maybe he should think about trying a different sport or whatever it was. To seeing him get to the position he is in life right now professionally, it's amazing. It's exhilarating, right? I'm just completely elated for him and for Micah. And Mike is a kid that, excuse me, Mike is a young man. He's not a kid. He's a young man that has worked his behind off tirelessly. He sacrificed his life for this. He's been through a lot. Micah Parsons wasn't always a five-star blue chip athlete, right? He wasn't always, that person that everyone looks to as the top alpha dog, the leader of your room, your team. He wasn't always that guy. He had a lot of challenges growing up. He came from extreme circumstances and a desolated environment by the way. So, seeing him, you know, elevate his life to the position he is in right now, that's just God right there. Because you don't make it from where we come from, and that's the reality of it. So, seeing him take this opportunity and truly run into his greatness and work his behind off is truly inspiring. Because a lot of people don't understand the work that goes into being a professional athlete, and that transition from college to the pros is by far the hardest transition you'll ever make in your life.
And
So,
tell me a little bit about Andre, man. Andre and Jason and
oh,
Mark.
Jason Owe. What can I say about Jason Owe? He is He is the epitome of a humble servant. You know, when you hear him talk, you just sit there and you just glow because he's so intuitive. Like he's highly intelligent, but he wants to be great. He's a student of the game. He takes copious notes. You know, he truly wants to master his craft. And being around a young man like Jason, you know, it really helps motivate you to elevate your game as well. Because he's going to ask those questions, right? He's going to take those notes and he's going to follow up with you down the line and say, "Hey, look, hey, bro, what do you think about this? I know we talked about it before. Tell me what your thoughts are on this again." You know, things like that. So being around those young men, you know, like Jason, it just makes you elevate your game. You know, Mark Webb is another young man from Philadelphia that, you know, watching him grow up and go through his journey from transitioning from wide receiver to now defensive back. And by the way, one of the top defensive backs in this draft, he just had an incredible pro day yesterday. And you look and you say, man, you know, from our perspective, we knew it. We knew what it was because, you know, we're there through that journey. But then seeing him do that on a national stage and really walk into his greatness, you know, and accept that challenge because everybody isn't, expecting him to perform at that elite level in which he did. So it's beautiful to see. And Mark is just a tremendous spirit because his energy is unmatchable, right? Like uh, the energy that he brings. I don't care if we're bowling. I don't care if we're just hanging out talking. His energy is consistent, and what he brings to a team is going to be so powerful for that locker room. He's going to make sure that he's the positive energy always. He's going to make sure that everyone else is working. He's going to make sure everyone is in light spirited moods, but more so focused on the task at hand. And that's one of the things that I love about Mark for sure. And last but certainly not least, Andre Cisco, my namesake. That's my guy right there. He's by far one of the most talented individuals I've ever been around. You know, but more importantly, I always say that, you know, God willing, when things go well for him, he stays healthy. Dre's going to be an all pro because he's already an all pro individual. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah.
everything Andre Cisco does is at an all pro level. The way he talks with you, the way he interviews, the way he takes his notes, the way he studies film, you know, handling his business outside of football. You know, everything is very meticulous with Andre. And that's why he's in a position in life that he's in right now, too. It's not a mistake, it's by design. You know, and when you're surrounded by young men of that caliber, it truly pushes you. You know, it really does because you have to stay on point because these guys will hold you accountable. And that's what we invite. That's what we want, you know, here at Athletes First. You know, we want our guys to hold us accountable because we're certainly going to hold them accountable. And when we say family ties, we all stick together. If you come for one, you come for us all.
How challenging has it been not having, this is the first year without the combine,
Mhm.
so for all the players not to be able to gather there and have the teams, has it been more challenging, or are the players finding that not be doing all their interviews virtually as opposed to all the visits in person? Some guys get tired of going from city to city, right? And it gets by the end they're dragging.
Yeah.
So, has it been more of a challenge, or is there a little welcome factor to it too as well?
Well, you know, these guys are young, right? They haven't been through the experience. So, you know, you don't know what you don't know, right? So they've never been through that experience. So they don't know how taxing it can be to be flying all over the country. But everything has its challenges, like in any business that you experience, right? They have their ups, they have their downs. And some things may be a little more advantageous than others. But for the most part, our guys have been attacking it head on with just a positive attitude because, again, it's a life changing experience. And you want to make sure, as we continuously preach to these guys, that you put your best foot forward, right? And that you go at everything at an elite level. You make sure these teams understand that you are, you know, the most competitive, the most focused, the most disciplined individual that there is. And how bad you want this, they'll be able to determine that, you know, based on these conversations. So, you know, our guys have attacked the right way. They've been positive, they've been energetic throughout their meetings. And, you know, it's been great to see.
Andre, last thing I want to ask, because you're sitting there and I look behind you, and there's a hanging up is a sign on. I love that. It says
Yeah.
blessed, and you mentioned being blessed. You mentioned being highly favored. Man, tell me about the importance of your faith to you along the way and how that's helped you, one, stay grounded, stay humble, but also overcome challenges and obstacles.
Yeah, thank you for asking me that question because it's really one that helps me get through, you know, my day to day. and through this journey that's extremely challenging every day. Being blessed by the higher power is something that I don't take for granted because I wasn't supposed to be here. I was one of those young men from North Philly that was always told, you wouldn't live to see 18 and all this other negative stuff. So having that positive affirmation and knowing that I do have someone that's ordering my steps, that's walking with me day to day, that gives me the ultimate confidence. And I'm not a braggadocious type of individual. I'm not cocky by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm very, very confident in myself and my skill set and my abilities. And that's partly because of, who orders my steps, right? Who leads and guides me day to day. And I don't take that for granted because at the end of the day, my journey says it all. I've been through a
Mhm.
lot, and I embrace every second of it. Was it painful? For sure. Did I like it? Absolutely not. Would I do it again? That's debatable. But at the end of the day, we are here, we're here because of that. And, having that faith really helps. It helps me continuously grow and continuously get better. And I'll never take it for granted. I embrace that just like I embrace my grind professionally, right? Because every single day is a challenge. And if you don't humble yourself and if you don't hold yourself accountable, you can lose yourself within success.
Amen, man. I love to say we are blessed so we can bless others,
Sure.
right? And everything is about, what you to whom much is given, much is certainly right expected. And I appreciate you spending some time with me. You talking about your career and your journey and what you intend to do for other people and how you've been doing it along the way, man. So thank you.
I appreciate you, Rob. Ever since we've met, you've been consistent. I think that's one of the main words that I can attribute to you is consistent. You've been nothing but loving, caring, calling, checking in. It's not just a contractual relationship, right? A transactional relationship. You've always been that guy to just reach out, say, yo, hey buddy, how are you, man? I'm praying for you. I wish you the best. How can I help? So to be here sitting with you right now on this tremendous platform that you're building, man, it's a blessing, man. And I don't take it lightly. I appreciate your time, man. I appreciate you thinking of me, seriously.
Thank you, man. Well, Andre, appreciate it, brother, and we'll talk soon.
Hey, man, you got good taste, man, too. Nice shirt.
I love